Man, I feel like it's so hard to pick a niche. Like, what if I just get it wrong?
If you are wrong, your future is toes and feet.
Toes and feet? You mean like podiatrist?
No, bro. Like selling feet pics on the OnlyFans.
Oh God!
Film the feet for $9.99 per month.
I think I'll just go ahead and choose chiropractors.
Fucking white people.
Well, what up, guys? In this episode, we're talking pick a niche, bitch. And the reason I want you guys to really get this is if you really understand there is a secret source of money. You get this right, whole thing's gonna explode for you. And this will be really useful for those of you guys who are probably in three different situations. Either you're picking a niche for the first time, you've been a generalist and you've done a lot of things for somebody and now you recognize the reason to sort of niche down and specialize. And then the third reason is sometimes you just need to change gears and pick a new one. So I want to show you guys exactly how to do that in this video. And when you understand why, you'll stop making this a big fucking deal and just pick one. So anyways, for those of you guys who don't know me already, my name is Frankie Fihn. I wrote these two best-selling books here, Passive Automated Recurring Income, Beyond the Agency Box. I've built 3 of my own agencies up to 100 plus clients and helped thousands of you guys out there to live the more beach, less laptop lifestyle. Shout out to Lana for getting me the cool shirt. Let's get into it.
Yo, it's Frankie Fihn. Beach mode engaged. Looms loaded, AI's humming. Let's go!
What's up, guys? I'm going to show you guys the super secret hidden source of money by picking the right industry. But before we get into like the really deep stuff, I want to give you guys 3 reasons to pick a niche, because if you understand this, man, a lot of people get really hung up. And what they do is they make this like choosing a wife. I met motherfuckers who like 9 to 12 months later still haven't picked a niche. And it's more like picking an ice cream flavor where there's a lot of good varieties. There's a lot of different ways you can go. So let me tell you the first and probably most important reason is because you can scale fulfillment a lot easier, okay? And this means for you, when you go to build this motherfucker up, it means something just like this. Talking that much freedom, okay? So I want you to imagine there's 2 different restaurants, okay? One person is like the generalist agency where they're willing to do anything for anyone. And so on Monday, somebody comes in and says, do you guys know how to make pizza? And so they figure out, you know what, we're gonna get the Italian wood fire oven, we're gonna get the specialty 00 flour. Next day, somebody says, do you guys know how to make Chinese food? And now they're trying to find the place to get the bok choy and the soy sauce and the right kind of ginger and things like that. And then the next day somebody says, do you do catering? Well, what's going to happen when they go to scale fulfillment is that business is going to be really, really, really fucking hard, okay? Now, flip side of that is I want you to imagine like when McDonald's first scaled, all they sold were hamburgers. So I want you to imagine, for example, a different restaurant that's specialized and they're just doing the same thing over and over. It's probably a lot of work to make the first burger off the production line, but what happens with burger 2? Burger 3, burger 4, right? Like that's when you get to, so the biggest and most important reason why so many of us harp on this pick and niche is not actually because there's a secret source of money, is because, man, if it takes you 5 minutes to fulfill on a client because it's just copying and pasting the burger from the last client, you're gonna scale a lot easier than if every time you have to come up with some 10 to 20 hour per week custom solution, right? So it's really a hidden secret of time more than anything. And if you get this wrong, every day your clients will feel a little bit like this.
Ventura.
Yes, Satan? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You sounded like someone else.
Never mind the wisecracks, Ventura.
So I want you guys to not have like clients where it feels like so much work where you start to question, is this even worth it? I want it so, yeah, you might have to create a 10, 20 hour solution the first time, but ultimately then you get to copy and paste it and reuse it. My favorite example of that, by the way, one of my friends, Scott, he has a YouTube ad agency in the mortgage world. And one of the things he was doing is he was trying to get clients to make videos so that he could then go and create ads. In other words, a custom solution. And what happened is Some clients are bad on video, some don't record them, some have like really messed up audio and you end up having to redo them. And it was just a whole clusterfuck of custom work. One day Scott got the idea, what if I just made the video and I was the one selling, and when they signed up for mortgage leads, in their mind, they would still be talking to the person in the ad, and now his fulfillment is he just has to copy and paste that video to each client. In fact, the video was already done before the client says yes, so it's really just setting up a basic Google Ads. Well, if you want to scale, you want to be Scott version 2, not Scott version 1. By the way, just for having a cool agency like that, Scott, this is what I think.
And Blue!
Yes, sir.
Do you trust that I do not want to see you die here tonight?
Sir, yes, sir.
Blue, you're my boy!
Thank you, sir.
All right, so let me give you reason number 2 to pick a niche, okay? And that is messaging. And I had a mentor who said years ago, he said, specificity prints cash, right? So if your message is more specific and more meaningful and more geared towards a certain outcome and a certain person, it's going to be better than if it's vague and tries to appeal to anybody. By the way, most agencies try and do the opposite. More leads, more sales, more customers. Have messaging that is really broad and appeals to everybody. And I call this, there's something, I have a name for it, it's called the plane ride. So imagine this is my shitty drawing of an airplane, but you guys can kind of, see an airplane there. So imagine you decide one day that you need to book a flight. Usually the most important detail of the flight is where are you leaving. So I'll give you an example. I used to fly a lot from right next to my home city, Detroit, Michigan. We could fly from there. And like, let's say, for example, I was going to Atlanta. Well, even before I looked at how awesome the flight is, or how nice the flight attendants are, or how big the bag of peanuts is, or anything like that, the first thing I'd want to know is, do you leave Detroit and do you go to Atlanta, right? And so this is a really awesome metaphor for your client's problem and your client's outcome. So a lot of you guys have plane rides that are things like SEO, or Facebook ads, or web design, or funnels, or Google ads, for example. And clients don't really care about the vehicle. They want to know, hey, I'm over here in Problem City. Can you get me to the outcome? And so it's very hard to do this when you try and talk to too many people at once, right? So for example, like I had a mentor years ago said to me, I want you to write an ad, just in your mind, take 30 seconds, I want you to write an ad for an athlete. And at the end of that 30 seconds, he said to me, Frankie, what did you come up with? And I went, nothing. And there were just too many variables in my head. I was like, well, am I talking to a power lifter in the Olympics, one of those super jack guys? Am I talking to a figure skater? Am I talking to an NFL player? Like, are they old? Are they young? Like, I had more questions than answer. And he said, I want you to make an ad in your mind now that's more specific. He went with a left-handed golfer with a slice. 30 seconds later, he said, what did you come up with? I'm like, I almost already wrote the ad. Hey, dear left-handed golfer with a slice, did you know we're not righties? If you're slicing the ball every time, there's one of 3 reasons. Reason number 1, reason number 2, reason number 3. We found with Frankie Fihn's amazing golf ball whacker machine, we can have perfect drives, right? So the messaging, almost always, if you want to make more money, have more specific messaging. And most people, by the way, are just saying customers. But like more specific is what kind of customer, by when, what it costs to acquire them, what steps would they normally have to do that they don't do, right? So for example, we found one of the guys named Ross came into our mastermind. He was selling personal injury attorneys ID quality leads. And as we dived deeper into it, I found out like the messaging was just a lot stronger when we got into, hey, we can get you signed motor vehicle accident cases for under $500 a piece, meaning they are not currently represented by an attorney, they have insurance, they're inside of the statute of limitations, and they weren't at fault for the accident, right? So we had 4 qualifying criteria. And the reason why that matters, right, if I'm a personal injury, like your target client or whatever your niche is on the other side, if I'm on the other side of that, that messaging speaks to me. It says I can get you all the way to Atlanta, Terminal H, by 5:30 on a Friday, right? That's the level of specificity we want. So the more you're away from the generic more, and the more you're into, what kinds of jobs or clients can you bring them? By when? Like I said, what do they not have to do? So that's reason number 2 to pick a messaging is it's very hard to sell plane rides, but it's very easy to sell. I can get you out of Problem City, I can get you there. And that's only possible when you have a clear avatar, somebody like a left-handed golfer with a slice, in your opinion, or in your mind when you go to write those ads. Third reason, okay? You're gonna have to go find them, right? Like, clients, last I checked, do not fall out of the fucking sky. So I see a lot of people sitting around waiting, hoping clients are coming in the door, but it's kind of like this.
Joseph P. Brenner. What's a P stand?
Pussy.
Right? So we have to proactively go find people. Clients are not going to fall out of the sky. And that's Arnie's way of saying, you can't be a pussy about this. Don't be a pussy. Right? So we're going to proactively go get them. When we don't have a clear picture in mind, a lot of times you don't even know where to go get them, right? Like I've had people say to me, how do I find people that are willing to invest in Google Ads? And that's when you're super generalist, super vague, super unspecific. And the truth was, like, I don't fucking know, right? They don't walk around the street advertising a sign that says, hey, I'm looking to spend on Google Ads, right? But the flip side of that is, imagine they got more specific and they said, for example, like, imagine you said to me, hey, Frankie, I would like to meet a nurse. Well, Frankie's going to say, there's a building down the street called the hospital. There's a lot of fucking nurses over there, right? We can proactively go get in front of nurses. If somebody says, hey, Frankie, I want to meet a golfer, then we could say, well, we're probably going to have to go to the golf course. Why? Because that's where the golfers are. If you say to me, I want to meet a stripper, I'm going to say, well, let's go to the strip club, right? Or let's go to the coke dealer, right? Let's go to the places where the strippers hang out. So the more you have a clear niche in mind, the more you can actually create specific messaging, aim it at somebody, and then after you get one, and the real benefit comes when you get the second one, you can all of a sudden copy and paste deliverables. So I want you to understand the stacking effect is suddenly you get clear, where do I go get clients? Well, where they are now, we can create specific messaging that's geared towards them, right? Like a golfer, if we know we're talking to golfers and we say, hey, I can get you an all-exclusive Pebble Beach outcome weekend, right? That's going to be more appealing than we have flights, right? And like I said, it has the stacking thing is that now all of a sudden the second burger and the third burger is more of a copy and paste thing. And you switch from thinking of yourself as a service provider to more like an intellectual property dealer. Like I own a system, or I own a landing page, or I have a series of ads, or I have an SEO process that works really well. All right, so now that we put that together, here's what I want to tell you. Which niche, okay? Which niche should you pick? Which is the right one for you that's going to have the secret money? And I'm here to tell you there's actually very few bad niches. So once you hear that, I think the level of relief and happiness that should come over you should be like this.
It's not unusual to be lonely. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. But when I see you hanging about with anyone.
There's a couple of bad niches, and they usually mean they're only bad because they do not advertise. And the whole thing is driven by insurance. So as an example of one, you won't really find too many general practice doctors that advertise. I'm not even sure they're allowed to. And the whole thing is run by an insurance thing. So it's not like they can charge higher prices and really do a whole lot of things. But other than that, I'm here to tell you 99% of niches are good. Now, I want to clear something up because I think it's a misnomer to think that you're even aiming at anybody in a niche at all. What you're really aiming for is the top people with the biggest advertising and marketing and sales problems. Okay? So, if I show it to you guys like this, okay, imagine this represents a room full of people that are in your industry, and there is 100 of them in a room. And I want you just to imagine, maybe it's like COVID hysteria times or whatever, they line up equally spaced. So if we draw a line down the room, we make half the people on one side and half on the other, okay? So what I want to show you guys firstly is that 80% of the people, right, think 80-20, 80% of the people in any industry Does not matter whether it is dentists or e-commerce or plumbers or roofers or an online coach. 80% of people, for the most part, are what I call BAF, which stands for broke as a motherfucker. And they don't invest in advertising and marketing and sales and growth. And there's lots of reasons for this. Sometimes, like I've met attorneys, for example, who are doing between 150 and 300K a year, and they got a good life, and they don't want a big team, they don't want a big staff, and that's perfectly fine, but they don't spend money on advertising. As far as you're concerned, they are BA, let's put a little M for there. Broke as a motherfucker, okay? So this does not represent everybody, though. In every industry, there are actually a bunch of people who spend a lot of money on ads, and they typically, like I said, there's an 80-20. So 80% of the people, even though they're much bigger in number, spend very little. And there's an 80-20 in the 80-20. There's a small segment that spend like fucking cajillions. So I think of like in the attorney space, I did an interview back in the day with the world's top attorney, a guy named John Morgan. They spend $25 million a year on TV. That was actually when I was, like actively interviewing. It's been like 8 years, right? So they probably doubled their spend. They're probably spending $50 million by now, right? That guy spends more than the rest of the room. So the reason I say this is because regardless of which industry you pick, your clients are the ones who actively do spend money. And most of this is disqualifying people who either A, don't want to grow, or B, are unwilling to consistently spend money to do it. So the reason I say this is because it doesn't matter what niche you pick. You're aiming for the people with money. So people hesitate on this thinking, if I pick the wrong niche, there's going to be no money in it. It's too saturated. I'll be the 87th SEO person. And like, if there's any niche at all, there are people that are actively spending money. These are your clients. And the reason we're telling you to pick a niche is not because there's a wrong one, because we want your fulfillment to scale. Because we want your messaging to say something meaningful. And we want to have a clear path to go find them. Okay? And so there's really really only like 3 kind of main niches, and almost everything is like a subset of it, really. I would call them like the info businesses, the SaaS, the courses, the coaches. There are brick and mortar, the old B&M, and that's where most of you guys are operating, at least that pay attention to me. And then there's like the online physical products, e-com. So every niche you pick is going to be just a deeper version of that, but it really doesn't matter which one you pick, because we're not aiming for everybody. We're aiming for the top 20%, or even sometimes the top 1 to 5% that spend all the money, so that we can create a service that is scalable, has clear messaging, and has a clear path to go find the clients. And then the last piece that I wanted to kind of cover on this is, if you want to make your thing extra valuable, simply ask your niche what the thing they would most like to sell is. Like if you get a roofer, for example, they might make $250,000 doing, a giant like commercial roof repair. And when they go drive to somebody's house and fix a leak, they might make $99, which barely covers the gas and the person to get there. So if you ask them, chances are they're going to say, hey, I would much rather sell this $250,000 thing than this $99 thing. And so what I would say is specialize in that, because that's never not going to be valuable in your marketplace. They're always going to have a thing that they really, really, really wish they could sell more of. And the more you specialize in that and design it in a way where the delivery is scalable, the messaging is clear, and you have a clear path to go find them, all of that is going to work out. So that's my way of saying, just pick any niche. It doesn't really fucking matter. Just make sure you aim it at the people with money, and you specialize in the thing that's most valuable, and you design it for scale with clear messaging, and you know where to find them. They're really all good niches, right? And it doesn't matter what niche you pick. And I've seen this where people think everybody in my niche is broke, and almost always you're just talking to the wrong segment, right? Like I got a friend, for example, Lana. She may be watching this. Lana works in the yoga studio industry. When she first started, she tried to get the single mom who's trying to get her first 8 people, in other words, broke as a motherfucker segment. She said, you know, yoga studio owners are all broke. And then I showed her, did you know there's a place over here that has 175 locations? Do you think they're broke as fuck? And so the reason I say this can be a little bit intimidating, but what we're really aiming for is helping the clients with money. And the biggest thing we're helping them with, by the way, just so you guys know, is they got too much to do. Too many things to stay on top of. Videos, social media, messaging, follow-ups, giving quotes, putting people in their CRM, etc. Like there's just a lot of things for them to manage. And so you show up and take a bunch of work off of them. And that's super helpful. By the way, if you guys are interested in scaling up a niche agency, you should check out this baby right here.
Round 1, fight! Shoryuken!
All right, so I want you guys having actually consumed this video. What I want you to do is make a decision. You're gonna pick a niche in the next 48 hours. Just so you know, a lot of people take forever on this. It's something you should think about, right? But again, it's choosing an ice cream flavor, not a wife. There are so many good options out there, right? There's so many delicious flavors of ice cream. We're gonna work with clients with money no matter what industry you pick, right? So it's not like if you get this wrong, you're doomed forever and ever. So make a decision, pick one, go with it for the next 48 hours. And then I would say commit to it for 6 to 12 months before you go and change, because it almost takes always longer than people realize to infiltrate a brand new industry. So that's all I got for you guys in this video. Just make sure you pick the damn fucking niche already, because the worst decision, the worst niche to pick is none of them. That's the worst niche, because you make your fulfillment life pretty fucking miserable. That you gotta reinvent the wheel every time you get a new client in, and you gotta find new freelancers. So that's all I got for you guys in this video. Make sure to subscribe, and may the force be with you.
Buy my book, or I will Photoshop your face on Gary Vee running mid-sprint and say, you just gotta want it more.